The Chiefs' quest to make history finally begins this week as Kansas City takes on Baltimore in a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. Here's what to know about the matchup. Now, this game features the two best defenses in the NFL from last season. The Chiefs had the number 2 scoring defense in the NFL last year, behind only Baltimore. The Chiefs had the second most sacks in the NFL last year, behind only the Ravens. Kind of goes like that throughout all these categories. But one area the Chiefs had the Ravens beat last season was total defense. That's yards allowed per game. The Chiefs were number 2 in the NFL in that category last year, behind only Cleveland, while Baltimore was 6th. These defenses were both consistently dominant as well. The Chiefs, in particular, held opponents under 28 total points in every game last season. 21 total games if you include the playoffs. That was an NFL record. The Ravens were consistent too, though. They held opponents under 28 total points in all but 2 games last year. Now, that was last season. Doesn't matter anymore. Defenses can change from year to year, but I expect both of these groups to be good once again in 2024. There are some changes, though, that should be noted. For the Ravens, they lost defensive coordinator Mike McDonald. He's now the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. They also lost defensive end Jadeveon Clowney. He had 9.5 sacks last year, and linebacker Patrick Queen, one of their better players. But still, a lot of good players on this Ravens defense, notably defensive tackle Justin Madubuike, their leading sacker last year, and defensive back Kyle Hamilton, one of the top young safeties in the NFL. The same can be said for the Chiefs. L'Jarius Sneed no longer in town. He's now a Tennessee Titan, but still, if you look at last year's defense and the players that helped make it so good, a bunch of young, ascending players, guys like Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, Brian Cook, Leo Chanel. I could go on and on. These are young players who are ascending, and really the mantra for this group during training camp was D-bet, demand better. They're not satisfied with what they did last year. They want to be better in 2024, and that's exciting if you're a Chiefs fan. So even though defenses do change from year to year, I expect both of these groups to be very good in 2024. Now on the other side, the quarterback matchup is a good one. It's Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. These two have faced off 5 times in their young careers, with Mahomes winning 4 of the 5 matchups. This is also a game between 2 of the last NFL MVPs. Mahomes, of course, won the MVP award in 2022, while Jackson won it last year. And for Mahomes, it's a great opportunity to show off the Chiefs' new-look passing game, which includes rookie wide receiver Xavier. He ran a 4.21 40-yard dash at the Combine earlier this year, the fastest recorded time in the history of that event. And we saw that speed translate to the field in the preseason, particularly in that Lions game. He had a big play on the 3rd snap from scrimmage in that one, and a touchdown a little bit later. Really excited to see what Xavier can do against this Ravens secondary on Thursday. And for Baltimore, Lamar Jackson's favorite target always has been, and likely will remain, tight end Mark Andrews, who ranks 4th among all tight ends in targets, 3rd in receiving yards, and 2nd in receiving touchdowns since entering the NFL in 2018. In short, to slow down the Ravens passing game, you got to slow down Mark Andrews. Now, the Ravens also have a new weapon on offense and veteran running back Derrick Henry. And Henry's 30 years old, but he's shown no signs of slowing down. He rushed for 2,705 yards and 25 touchdowns over his last 2 seasons with Tennessee. And we know that Baltimore loves to run the football. They led the NFL in rushing yards per game last year, and Henry plays right into that. Not to mention Jackson's ability as a runner. He led all quarterbacks with 821 rushing yards last year. So as much as we talk about the passing game in the modern NFL, if you want to stop the Ravens, all begins with stopping their running game, and the Chiefs did that last year in the AFC Championship game. They held Baltimore to a season low in rushing attempts and rushing yards. Just 81 rushing yards allowed last year for the Chiefs defense against this high-octane Ravens running game. A similar effort on Thursday night would go a long way into kicking off the season with a victory. And listen, it's a long year, but we're talking about all the history the Chiefs could maybe achieve in 2024. Beating the Ravens on opening night would be a great start.